What's up, y'all? Antonio Gibson recently had an interview with Fred Smoot and London Fletcher, and in that interview, Fred Smoot basically said that Eric Bieniemy's offense is tailored around Antonio Gibson, and it's basically set up for him to be successful this year. And I feel it is. And honestly, I feel like in 2021, when Antonio Gibson was the lead running back, I felt like Scott Turner's offense was set up for him to be successful. And I feel like that's the highest, for him at the running back position to like really excel. I feel like 1,000 yards was a lot for him in that season, and I think that might be his limit for right now because he's playing in Eric Bieniemy's offense. And if you pay attention to what Eric has done in the last 5 years in the running back position, no running back has gone over 800 yards, and the last person to do that was Isaiah Pacheco. And when it comes to touchdowns, the most running back has ever gotten is 7 touchdowns, and that was by Kareem Hunt. So it's a limit playing under Eric Bieniemy's offense. So I don't see this season as as great as the 2021 season that Antonio Gibson had, but I do see it as a prosperous receiving position for him because I feel like he's gonna get around 500 and 500 receiving yards, and that's only because that's kind of the limit for Eric Bieniemy's offense. Like the most running back has ever gotten is 500 yards, and I can see that happening, but who knows? It may go over, but these are some of the expectations when you play under Eric Bieniemy, and it's not like he doesn't care about his running backs. It's just he understands that the league is a passing league, and you have to excel at that more than running. But it all depends on how he does it, because I believe it was 2017 when Alex Smith and Kareem Hunt was on the same team. Kareem Hunt had 1,000 yards, and Alex Smith threw for like 4,000. So it's possible, but it's just all about how Eric approaches it, and what may arise during the season. Like it may be possible for whoever the running back is, which is Brian Robertson, to get 1,000 yards, but I don't think it's possible for Antonio Gibson, only because he's not the sole running back anymore, and he's been a backup since last year, and that was mainly because of in 2021 he had 5 fumbles, and that was just at the rushing position. So I feel like that's kind of what has set him back, and I think they want to kind of help him develop himself and get back into, I don't think he's ever going to be that starting running back anymore because we believe in Brian Robinson and what he can do. But I do feel like, he is a solid number 2 running back. So I think that's a great spot for him. And I feel as though he does great at the wide receiver position because, in college, that was where he was for the 2 seasons that he played in college. He was a wide receiver. And I believe he ran over like 700 yards and received like 300 yards. So I think him coming to the NFL and trying to adjust to being a running back, it just like he even said it. He even said that he wasn't used to running in between the tackles. He was one of those guys like that a jet sweep guy, or running outside on the outsides. So it was like he was just trying to get used to it, and especially running through the middle. And when you got heavy linemen trying to tackle you, you got to understand that you can't just be loose with the ball, But I think that's something he's starting to understand and starting to get a grasp on. And last season he played for the kick return, and he was our lead. So I don't see him as a huge production this year, and that's solely because of Casimir Allen, and I feel like he's going to take over. But I still feel like Antonio Gibson is really going to do a good job, but I think his workload everywhere else is going to diminish, mostly because I feel like there are so many pockets for him in the Eric Bieniemy offense. Like, I feel like he's going to have, I think Eric wants all his top players to be, healthy. So why would he, overuse his weapon in the kick return if he could possibly use him on offense majority of the time? So I don't think he's going to have that huge production that he did last season, but hopefully it's going to be a great season for him. Everything is set up for him properly, and then he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. So I know he's really trying to prove himself just so he can get a good check. But the way they've been paying running backs recently, it ain't been good. So hopefully, with him having that wide receiver background / running back background, it can help him get a great deal, and probably, maybe even break the running back, dilemma they having. So, with that being said, I feel like the offense is made for him. It's perfect, but I don't know if he's going to do more on the run. I know he's not going to do more in the run game, and is he going to do what he did in 2021? He may, but I feel like he may surpass it, and that's only because of what the potential is, for Eric Bieniemy's offense. But he said, Antonio Gibson said that he said that Eric Bieniemy's offense will allow him to be a star, but it's not like it hasn't happened before. So it's like people talk about Eric Bieniemy, but they seem to forget about Scott Turner and what Scott Turner did. Of course Scott Turner wasn't as vocal as Eric Bieniemy. He didn't yell as much, and the structure wasn't like Eric, but he did bring some things to the table, and he did allow his receivers and running backs to get some great yards. We just didn't have great production at the quarterback position. So I feel like this year is going to be good for Antonio Gibson, and I feel like it's another year for him to prove that he can stay on the team. Because, when you get on that kick return or you get on that punt return or special teams, it's like you on your way out, especially if you started at the top and then now you on kick return and punt return. It's one of them things where all right, I got to get back on my grind. Like, I really got to prove myself again. And, it's also the other way around, too, because if you come in on special teams, it's one of them ways where, okay, like Jeremy Reeves, like you proving yourself and you're trying to make it to that safety position, you know what I'm saying, and be a starter. So it can work both ways. But if you starting from the top and you going down to special teams, you already know what that means. You're on your way out. So I think he did a good job at special teams last season. So I think he's working his way back up to, keeping a job, and hopefully they be willing to pay him. And I think they're going to pay him, especially because, he's able to do multiple things. Special teams, running back, wide receiver. Why would we get rid of him? You know what I'm saying? He can do it all. So I think he just had to improve on that fumbling, because I think that was the biggest issue. But now that we got Christopher Rodriguez and, Brian Robinson, it's not going to be that bad for him. And then, last season at the running back position, he had like 500 yards, and he only fumbled once. So that's showing you how much he's improved. And, he's a leader on the team, and I feel like we need to keep him for at least 3 more years. He does a great job of being great in open space, and that's what he wanted to do more. He wanted to have more opportunities in the backfield when it comes to being a wide receiver. He honestly thinks he's great at that, and he is. He got the speed for it. He runs a 4.39, I believe, and when he's in space, you can see what happens, because especially in 2021, he had a 73-yard screen. It was a screen, yeah, and he ran it back for a touchdown. So you can see that he can make things happen. He just needs opportunities. And, I think that's what Eric is doing for him. He's creating more opportunities, and that's why he's loving this offense. And I just can't wait to see what happens this season. And I would appreciate if y'all comment and subscribe to the channel.